Welcome to another VBA tutorial. This tutorial is going to be more of a how to use something that somebody else created tutorial. I created this today at work and it's crude. It's going to need a lot of work, but for what it does already, I think it'll be very practical for you to use. What we're going to do is we're going to take some raw data, and this is what we get every day in the industry. Now these are made up numbers. I put random numbers in there, so none of these numbers are real. Anyway, so usually you have the data with some headers up top and an actual header that is on row 6. But your data is scrambled with other stuff. Like I'm interested in this MDS data, but I'm interested in only the MDS data that is unique. So these A007D, the A007K, I don't want them together. And you can use pivot tables and other facets to get this done. But what I'm beginning to create, which you can modify or use on your own, because I'll have this code on my website, devgin.com. What I want to do is I want to create a tab for each one of these unique MDSs. We're going to do MD actually. For every unique MD, I want a new tab. So right now there's no tabs at the bottom, it's just raw data. Well, I created this macro today, and it's not extremely error-proof yet, but it's usable now. And check back, and I'm gonna upgrade it, and it's gonna be a lot better. Anyway, so right now I have a couple different subs. I have an initialized data sub. I like to have all of my function calls in one sub itself. So what I'll do is I'll call a function called define business rules. So I'll create a file called define business rules, or I'm sorry, a tab called define business rules. And what I do with that is I format it the way I like it. I get it all set up so it's like a template. And then I call another one called flat file to tabs. And that's the real bulk of the work here. It's going to take this file right here and it's going to convert all of these separate MDs. So the A7 will get its own tab, the A10 will get its own tab, the AC130, etc., etc. And there's, I think there's a couple thousand different rows here. Like I said, this is just a beta version, but I wanted to get it out there so you can see. You can look at the code. And don't worry about not understanding all the code, but you might know enough now to start editing certain aspects of the code. Now, I do use two different modules. I use the def template module and the data minute. Remember, you change the module name down here in the def template. So what I do is I kind of create the back end. The data manipulation is all in one kind of file, so to speak, a module. And then the actual, like, kind of making it pretty and beautifying it is all in here. These are mostly recorded macros. So that's why I wanted to show you this video, is to kind of show you how to edit this to your liking and go from there. So beyond that, let's get this thing started. One thing I didn't show the users that have been watching the beginning tutorials is this input box right here. So if you have an integer value, integer starting row equals, and if you put input box, it'll actually take input from the keyboard, so that's pretty useful. Again, this tutorial is not to give you the specifics, it's just to let you use what I've already created. So I'll put this code on. You can actually put all of these into one module instead of two. It doesn't matter because the subs will be called, and it doesn't matter where they're located here. Okay, so let's run this bad boy here. I'm going to hit play, and if you saw it quickly, it showed you that it created down here the def business rules and overview. It actually created that already because I wanted my template to be done. Now this isn't extremely user friendly, but it's asking start in row of data. Well, data doesn't always start in row 1. It looks like this data actually starts in row 7. Okay, column of interest. Now what that means, because I created this, I know what it means. It's not extremely user-friendly, but the column, I actually want a number in there at the moment. Later on, we'll create forms that will have like a user interface with this. So column 1, 2, 3 is the MD column. So I want the MD column to have its own tab. So column 3, hit OK. And now it's asking, do you have a header row or not? And if not, it's going to be row 0. So the header is row 6. As you can see, the date, MD, MDS. So I put row 6. This kind of makes it a little flexible for any type of data that you might possibly have. I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to talk through this while it's actually running because it's going to take a minute. So the idea is after this happens, I'm going to create a tab with each MD. Then I'm going to write some more macros that's going to take the total of each column. It's going to add them together, give me some averages, and give me some descriptive statistics. I'm going to automatically place that into my, my Excel file. So this is a real-world practical example of why you'd want to use VBA. Now this takes a while because I didn't optimize this for speed yet. other than there's something called a screen refresh or a screen update. I turn that off, so you can't really see anything visually going on until the end of this macro when it's done. It's very intensive because what it's doing is it's taking a copy of each row and it's going from one tab to another, it's pasting that copy, then it's coming back to the raw data tab, copy and pasting. What would be more efficient is if I took the row 7 all the way down to row 12 and I copied and pasted that all in one chunk. I haven't got there yet, but this is just a beta version that I'm creating on the fly. As you can see, it's done. I'm going to show you what it did. It also created an index file, so I can quickly go to any one of those tabs by clicking on this. That's automated with VBA as well. So if I want to go to B52, it goes to the B52 data, and it actually just captured only B52 data. Again, this is all random numbers. I used the random number generator, so this is not secret or classified or anything. And I also created this back to index file because there's so many tabs. I think there's about 169 tabs back to index this way. So pick a tab, and what we're going to do in the future is we're going to put some descriptive statistics up here. We're going to actually say, all right, how many hours did it take? And we're going to count them all up, put some averages down here, all these different things. In fact, I'm also going to go beyond that and add some outliers and take some data out. Like if there's a 0 randomly in there, obviously something went wrong. Let's take that outlier out. For example, 1.40 here, when you're getting all high numbers, that could probably be an outlier. But we're going to automate all that. So let's go back to the code real quick. Let's see, go back to code. I'll show you a couple things in the code that are of interest for you to change for your own specific needs. Obviously, the input box statements you might want to change to your own liking. Header row, column of interest, you might want to say number, not an alpha, like column F. No, because right now it's only inputting numbers. What I also have of interest is start in rows. Well, that's here. That's already captured. Down here, if you keep scrolling down just a little bit, I have this offset integer value. Offset 5, that means I'm going to get 5 blanks before the data starts pasting. So if you want to have more room to put things above your data, put that as a 10 or a 20, and kind of go through this code and just kind of see if you can feel it out. Now, I'll remind you that this is straight up just once through, never been edited really much, just to try to get something to work for me that I needed today. And so I wanted to share that with everybody. Now the def template, this is kind of where I define business rules. So what I did was I actually recorded the macro. I didn't care what this looked like. I really didn't care. I went to a new tab, I recorded a macro, cleaned it up, made things bold, made things everything. Just record it and then call this function with the call. Then I also added borders later on. So instead of trying to combine them, I just called the add borders, which is down here. I added that afterwards. You can't do everything perfect the first time. But because this is kind of like my interface, like the GUI interface, what the user's going to see, I don't really care too much about the looks of the code because there's no real, you don't have to do any really thinking when it comes to recording that stuff. Now this index it, now this one is of importance. This is what creates the index and where it puts it. So right now, the L start row and the L start column is where I actually place the index. You can change this to your liking. Then the other thing of interest would be where you go backwards. Like if I was on a different tab and I wanted to click that top left part where it said back to index, this is where that's going to be located. So you can change those as well. So you can actually use this to your liking today and modify it, try it out, and let's go back to the data. So this is that A1 that I showed you, back to index, and this is where the index was put. I placed it there purposely, but I think I'm going to move it over here. Well, I'm also going to do a lot more to this. So come back in a couple days or another week and watch some more modifications. I'll even do a whole new video, and I would like to do a more thorough video and go through line by line. But I just wanted to get this code out there so people can actually start using it and modifying it. Hope you enjoyed.